A 25-year-old girl was found floating face down in kelp at a beach in San Diego, and she was in rough shape. Not only was she missing her clothes, but she was also missing her right leg, and that's not an expression. Her leg was literally gone from the thigh down. She had several broken bones and her whole body was super mutilated. On the surface, it seemed like a tragic shark accident, but as officials continued to investigate, things started to get a bit fishy and they suspected foul play. Michelle Von Emster was a 25-year-old NorCal native who loved the beach, complete with a butterfly tattoo on her shoulder. She went on to college, but was tragically diagnosed with cancer and dropped out. A year later, Michelle beat her cancer to only find herself in another life-threatening scenario, which didn't end well this time. But before that happened, Michelle moved in the Ocean Beach neighborhood, which had a bit of a bad rap, but Michelle and her roommate Coco didn't mind. Well, on April 14th, 1994, Michelle and Coco had plans to go to a Pink Floyd concert. But when they showed up at the venue that night, they found out that they bought the wrong ticket, so they literally had to turn around and leave. Oh my God, I would be so pissed if I had to turn away from a freaking Pink Floyd concert because I bought the wrong tickets. You know, I wouldn't want that whole thing to happen to anybody. So Michelle and Coco turned around and started driving back to their houses in Ocean Beach. That was probably such a sad car ride. Like, I wonder if they played Pink Floyd to make it feel like they were still at the concert or if they sat in silence or something. But before they made it home, Michelle asked Coco to drop her off at the pier, which was about 6 blocks away from their place. Coco dropped Michelle off at around 8 p.m., which is the last time she was seen alive. Michelle was wearing a green trench coat and had a purse when Coco dropped her off. That next morning, 2 surfers were at the beach when they saw a bunch of seagulls swarming a certain area and decided to check out the sitch. Well, it turns out that the seagulls weren't swarming a random bag of chips or scraps of food. They were surrounding the body of a mangled young woman who was floating in the kelp with some pretty gnarly injuries. The woman, who was eventually identified as Michelle, and she was identified by her butterfly tattoo, which was super torn up. Her clothes were missing, and part of her right leg. Oh my God, like, I bet you that the surfers were so sick to their stomach after seeing all that, I know that I would be. Officials first said the cause of Michelle's big adios was unknown, but they were pretty certain it was a shark attack. Yeah, a woman washing up on the beach with a missing leg seems like a shark attack to me. A medical examiner then performed an autopsy and found that Michelle had a broken neck, her pelvis, a few ribs, she was covered in scratches, and was missing her right leg, and even had sand in her mouth, throat, lungs, and her stomach, which meant she was alive during all of this. Oh, and I can't tell what's worse, the fact that Michelle suffered from all these horrific injuries, or the fact that she had all this sand in her mouth the whole time. Ew. So Michelle's fatality was deemed an accident. The medical examiner believes she jumped in the water at around midnight before getting attacked by a great white shark and falling to the bottom of the ocean, which is where she then broke her neck, got a bunch of sand in her mouth, and officially lost her life due to drowning and loss of bodily fluid. But things get even more weird. Michelle had some post-mortem injuries that the examiner said must have been from smaller blue sharks who fed on the girl after she kicked the bucket. I think that's so odd. Like, why would one shark first attack Michelle and then another group of sharks that are a different breed go and nibble on her? Like, don't they have like shark code or something? Also, how did she break her neck somewhere in the middle of all of that? But when other examiners and shark experts got a look at the pictures of Michelle's body, they shut down the shark attack theory so fast. Even though Michelle's leg was somehow hacked off and she was found in the water, shark experts say that there was no way that it was by a great white shark. Which seems crazy now, but just wait until you hear the rest. So apparently when a shark bites off someone's limb, it's like a pretty clean cut. Like, they can rip off a leg in one bite. But Michelle's leg was super mangled, and they even described that her thigh bone looked like it had been wilted down to a point. Oh, I wonder who would have wanted to push her. Like, that's a pretty bold move to do a random stranger, but maybe it was someone who knew her. And it wasn't really talked about, but I think it could have been the roommate because she was the only one who really knew where Michelle was. And there's bound to be drama between roommates. Trust me, I should know. I know what roommate horror stories are. I've had some. One of the other popular theories is that Michelle was 86 by a man named Edwin, who she apparently had a thing with. Edwin worked as a bartender right next door to the coffee shop Michelle worked at. He told the police that him and Michelle had been seeing each other for a few weeks and even hung out with her the day before she disappeared. Then he told them that Michelle liked to surf naked. That's a weird thing to say outright, which is why some people think he said to justify the theory that she went out skinny dipping that night as a cover-up for him actually being her Terminator. Here's the best part. After Edwin found out about his potential lover's sticky ending, he published a poem titled Shark Attack that awkwardly described the last time they were romantic and compared it to sharks nibbling on her. And it's cringier than it sounds. Like, he legit wrote, the report said that there was a tattoo, a butterfly on her shoulder, which I remembered that night on my couch when I, like the shark, chewed on her lips and took off her shirt. I am losing it. And dude, now is not the time to compare yourself to the shark that may have attacked your girl, who now I'm second guessing if she really was your girl. Well, even though his odd poem raised some suspicion, Edwin was never connected to the crime. In 2008, he asked a medical examiner to re-review Michelle's case, which I'm guessing he wouldn't have done if he really was her liquidator. Okay, so I mentioned this earlier, but Michelle lived in an area known for crime and substance abuse. It was often referred to as the war zone. I don't know why anyone would want to live there. Well, Michelle didn't have a car and worked a handful of minimum wage jobs, so she probably spent a few nights out late walking in that area. At one of her jobs, Michelle told a coworker that she thought she was being stalked by someone, but the only thing she knew about him was that he drove a motorcycle. After this was brought up to the police, they tried to figure out who this motorcycle riding creep was, but they had no luck. I still think it could have been the roommate, especially if Michelle was the one who messed up the whole concert ticket thing. And it's crazy to think that if they did have the correct tickets that night, Michelle might still be alive. Well, if I have one piece of advice to give you from this story, it's that creepy erotic poems are not the way to pay homage to somebody. Like, if you're sad, maybe just send flowers and make a heartfelt Facebook post or something. Or you could eat crepes.